Well, Facebook shares plunged nearly 10% in response to the crisis. They were up again yesterday, down again today. It's not only Israel. Lawmakers in Europe and the United States have asked Zuckerberg to appear and answer questions. So presumably this will carry on for some time. To discuss, we're joined by Professor Rodny-Gumede from the Journalism Department at the University of Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us, Prof.
Thank you.
The Economist is saying epic fail with the F falling down. How serious do you believe this is for Facebook?
It is serious for Facebook, and we've already seen that the shares have dropped, There's also, there's a personal cut for Zuckerberg himself, I believe. So, it has serious consequences. And of course, it's a global company that we're talking about that has made a massive impact. This is not a just a Silicon Valley tech company, It is a global company with global reach, with global users. So it is massive.
The crisis response itself being criticized because he was silent for days. That does not give you confidence that Facebook has nothing to hide.
They knew about us, and we know as well from reports that actually the breach then, they were made aware of Cambridge Analytica's role as early as 2015, and then asked that the information be removed of their storage facilities, which didn't happen, and that's what's transpired now. So they've known about it for a very, very long time. They've known about other, they don't want to call it a breach of privacy, or that there's been a technical invasion of Facebook's privacy. Technically, we can debate whether there has been, because actually these are users that willingly then used an app that then accessed third-party information.
Let's just clarify. Yeah. So this wasn't Facebook handing over data en masse. A researcher got people to consent to giving their data, then he handed it on. But there must be a massive warning here for what you consent to, online personality testing, things like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think there are a couple of things that we need to be well aware of. When we sign up to social media, we do hand over quite a fair bit of our own privacy. So these are not just innocuous platforms that we are using. They use the data. The commercial model is there to actually build ads, both on how we use social media.
And then you have to give researchers access. People have to go in. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's something that we need to be well aware of. And we heard here now how people are asking, users to be more vigilant. And we should be, of course. We should set our privacy settings and be clear on what we do, etc., etc. But there's certain things that we can't guard ourselves against. However, in this particular case, users were then asked to give access to this particular app, or they signed up for the app, and this app asked the users to then also allow for their friends to, or for this app to have access to information on the sites to their friends and people that they're associated with. So that's how it happened. And I think that this is where we need to be vigilant, and this is where, the public needs to be educated. When we use social media, there are certain things that we need to guard ourselves against, that we need to be aware of.
Isn't the whole thing a joke that I'm only posting to my friends? Because for a long time we know that a lot of this data, a lot of these platforms are porous, and that recruitment agencies, for example, have ways and means to go into your data. So is not the way to deal with this act as if it's public, I guess?
I think we need to be aware of that. So as I said, when we go online, when we sign up to these platforms, actually it's very difficult to ever delete anything off, and the campaigns that we see now, for example, for, resisting or deregistering or closing down our accounts on Facebook, for example, you can't really do that. The data is out there and it can be harvested in any way. So it's very, very difficult to delete data off the internet, as a matter of fact.
So even if it's private today, in 10 years' time, somebody could access and back access all your data. Yes. So what do you do as a user on the net?
I think it's difficult, and I think it's sort of too late now for users then to, this breach has happened, the data is there. The question is then, what can a company such as Cambridge Analytica do with this data once they have it? And what have they done with it so far? So the questions are being asked now, for example, have they passed it on to yet another party, you know, is it safe? What can be done with it? And I think all of those questions are very, very difficult. However, I do think that we need to be much more vigilant. And I think that with social media has also come a trend where we have become sort of, you know, we become desensitized in a sense, that we are much more comfortable with sharing private information in a sense, because we do so. And Facebook was set up to do that, just that. And people share the most innocuous pieces of data. And I think that as parents, for example, we need to talk to our children about it. We need to be vigilant as parents. I see parents posting pictures of their children on Facebook and so on. And I think that, you know, this in the wrong hands and for wrong reasons can be used in ways that we don't want it to be used.
That's the solution for me. Realize that everything you post can and will be used possibly by a broad range of individuals. So protect yourself in that way. What's interesting is that the talk was the Russian meddling in the elections. Now we know that this played a role as well. And the idea was, and I'm interested because you're in journalism, the idea was that mainstream media would ultimately become the source of trust, where you can go, because this can be used to channel fake news as well, to the people who are susceptible to that. So it's calling into question all the predictions about how news would be disseminated, about the trust that people would have in the news, isn't it?
And of course, the whole idea with you know, trust in social media, you know, goes out the back door with these kind of things. And we know that fake news has its grounding in social media and spreads very quickly for social media. It becomes like that proverbial felt fire in a sense. And we also know that when we talked about Facebook involvement, for example, in the fake news surrounding the US elections and also the Brexit vote in the UK, Cambridge Analytica, this particular data mining and data analytics company, played a massive role and actually accessed that data that was used for very sort of innocuous reasons of spreading disinformation, false information, and creating then false news around the elections too. Channel.
So we're living in a scary world. Final question, do you think Facebook will be punished, or do people have too much to lose, given that they're in that network, given that you can't delete your account and then use all the other companies that Facebook owns? The producer was looking at Instagram, WhatsApp. If you say, I want to disconnect, you're basically saying, I'm not using social media now.
See, that's also the thing here, that they're all connected in one way or the other. So it's not so easy as just deleting one account. It might have ripple effects then across various platforms and other social media outlets as well. I do think that Facebook have a lot to answer for, and as you said, they are actually being called to account in the US as well as in the UK, for example. So there will be, you know, global repercussions here for Facebook and a case to answer. And they've already started doing that, and I know that users are not exactly overjoyed by it, and there are still many, many questions, and more questions will be raised as well.
A little bit of anxiety. Thank you so much, Professor Ylva Rodny-Gumede from journalism at UJ.